Hey guys, Tower Climber here, and I'm very excited to bring you this Tower God related video because it is actually not going to be an explanation video or a versus battle video. It is actually going to be a, a video that I've been thinking about doing for a little bit now, but not fully knowing how to go about it. And it's something that I want to get into, like, the community. So if any of you guys watch this video by any chance and are in the community of Tower of God, try to reach out to like Joe or Dr. Bonehead or like any of the Tower of God YouTubers that you watch that you would want to be like, oh, this is a cool idea. And if they obviously they say no, then it's no. But I would really like for this to be like a little thing, at least because you know, all the Tower of God YouTubers that I've watched and that probably some of you've watched are very knowledgeable about the series and would probably be able to make really good versions of this. But today, the premise of this video is to make your own Tower of God OC. There are rules, and the rules are you have to do an online quiz to see what 10 great families you are a part of. You're not choosing yourself. You have to do a quiz. You have to answer the questions, and whatever family you get, you get. And then second, you have to do a second online quiz to see what your main position is going to be out of the 5 basic positions, right? Like what's your God of Tower position? Yeah, Tower of God position. Sorry about that. And so basically, and you can modify your character depending on what family you get. So like, you know how families have their own special abilities. Coons are good spear bearers. Like Johns are good at flame control and all that stuff. So like, you can modify your character depending, but you have to use the main position that you got on the test, particularly for their main fighting style. Okay, then you have the third rule is that you have to explain how they were as a regular and how they were as a ranker, individually, right? How strong would they be? What type of weapons would they use? What is their basic personality like? And what is their names? And like what's their names like outside of their actual like family names, like not just Ha something, right? So let me just start by doing mine because I already did the test. It's you don't have the creators don't have to do the test on camera. They could just do it off camera and do it like I did. If they want to do it the other way, they can. But basically, it's what I got is actually the Tupari family, and my main position that I got was spear bearer. So that I was like, how am I going to do this? So let me tell you guys what I got. My Tower God OC is named Tupari Seek. The reason why I named him Seek is because Seek is a shortened version of Ezekiel, the Old Testament prophet. In Arabic, the name actually means shooting star, and you will see how that's relevant in a little bit, right? I'll show some pictures. All the pictures that you see are actually AI generated images of the character that I put into the AI, and like I put some like Tower of God like type of images so it would actually fit somewhat around. So like you'll see a bunch of images when I'm explaining him and all that stuff. He is around, like in the timeline, he's around as old as like Yuri or Hansung or something like that. Probably around Hansung level, Hansung not age more or less, something like that. And you'll see why that's a little bit more important. As a regular, Seek was convinced that he was going to be a light bearer because the rest of his family is like known for their light bearing expertise, right? Tupari is like the number 1 light bearer in all of the tower. So he looked up to his family, and he was very much like, I want to be like all of you guys. And he was always a very creative kid. He was always inventing stuff. Always, if he could get his hands on anything, he would try to make it right. He's a very free spirit, but that only comes to like things he's not interested in. If he finds something that he likes or is interested in, he laser focuses on that. and he becomes very invested into it, like inventing, like making machines, like mini lighthouses or observers. He's done that throughout his childhood until one day Hedon came down to him and said, "Hey, you're going to be a regular in the tower." And after he became a regular, his obviously in the second floor, he was put through a bunch of different tests, and he was like, "Okay, I am pretty sure I'm going to be a light bearer at some point," because he was trying to be very analytical and trying to be very like the linchpin of the team that he was on. But the test administrators actually saw him and saw that he had a more keen sense for distance. Like he had a very keen eye, and it would be like very he could see things far away and people and objects and stuff like that, and pinpoint them and calculate where they needed to fire or what they needed to do in that situation. So when it got time to actually pick the positions for the regulars, he actually got spear bearer, and it was kind of like a rack moment, like where a rack was picked for spear bearing. He was like, "I'm not a fisherman. Why am I not a fisherman?" And it's kind of like that. Why am I not a light bearer? Why am I a spear bearer? Right. So it was very confusing for him, obviously, but he went along with it. He was not that good at spear bearing at the beginning of it until he was met with. At some point, he still passed the second floor. He was still a 10th grade family member, so he still had physical capabilities that put him above other regulars. But because of his position, he barely passed the second floor, right? Because his position that he was not very used to, he barely passed the second floor, and so he, even with his 10th grade family blood, and when around I want to say like the sixth to 10th floor of the tower, he challenges kept getting harder and harder, and he was like very distressed that he was not going to be able to help his team because he wasn't a good spear bearer. He thought he was he thought he wasn't going to be able to do it right, the climb, and he was feeling very dejected until a member of his family that he got along with as a kid, he contacted them and he told them about his plight, and they told him very strong piece of advice that he never forgot for the rest of his life. They told him, "Look, they gave you a position on the second floor, but that doesn't mean that you should ignore your heritage, your bloodline. Doesn't mean you should ignore what you love. Doesn't mean that you have to all of a sudden just 100% be a spear bearer, 100% be this and that." So he took that to heart, and he was like, "Okay, I'm going to do everything in my power possible to become a better spear bearer with the knowledge that I have. So I'm going to tinker and create little lighthouses, buy little materials for lighthouses, make my own observers, make my own lighthouses." He did. He created his own lighthouses and own observers that helped him in battle as a spear bearer. Basically, imagine how like Khun and Rak team up and do combination attacks, where Rak throws the spear and Khun teleports the spear, and it goes all over the place, right? He can do that by himself. That's what he became known for, because his aim, even if his aim is bad, he would use his lighthouse to teleport the spear and pinpoint the aim with the observers and actually hit his target no matter what. And this fighting style became known as the teleporting star ability. And he got very famous for doing this, and he basically, when it was said at some point during his climb, if he sets his sights on you, then you are already dead, right? Because no matter what you do, his spear will reach you. And so that he became very proficient at this. But at some point during his climb, he got faced with more challenges, obviously, like everyone in the tower does. And he got into a point where he was fighting another 10th grade family member, a member from the Hendellock family. And no matter what he did with his spear, the Hendellock was so overwhelmingly defensively strong that he was just eating all the attacks. He was able to do some damage, but overall was not that like serious. And with one swing of his needle, he ripped out the eye of Zeke. And Zeke was completely left almost for dead until his team was able to reach him and take him away from that fight and retreat. If not for them, he would have died immediately that day. And he was like, oh God. And because of this loss of his eye, no matter how good his teleporting spear abilities became, he was never going to be able to reach the full capacity of a spear bearer, no matter what. So he was dejected, and for a long time his team was trying to get him to keep climbing the tower. But for like around, I want to say like 5 or 10 or so years, right? His team went up ahead and he just stopped climbing, and he just felt dejected. He could not do this. No matter what he tried, what inventions he created, he could not make up for the pure gap that losing his eye gave him. And he also got beat up in other places in his body. His body was also wrecked from that fight. So what happened at some point was that his team they knew of his family, and they contacted the family of Zeke. And at some point, basically Zeke, Zeke's the family member I talked about, his cousin, came down to him, and his cousin was already a ranker, in the family at some point. So Zeke always looked up to his cousin, and his cousin came down and talked to him and basically said, "Look, you have to keep climbing. I believe in you." And he said, "How can I do this?" And he said, "Look, I understand you're limited. I will help you rebuild yourself." And so what him and his cousin did was get it done into this project that took basically around 2 years to make, because they didn't even know if it was possible, but they were gonna make sure to try. The idea was to rebuild Zeke's eye into a lighthouse. They made his right eye into a lighthouse to replace the one that he lost. And basically now his eye is basically, imagine Karaka's eyes, because if you didn't know, Karaka's eyes are actually observers, and that's how he's able to see from far away and do calculations and all that stuff, and tell things from really far away. So after 2 years of pain struggling, making this almost never seen before mini lighthouse that was able to inject it into his eye, he was able to actually keep climbing the tower because of this. Overall, this made his spear bearing even better, because he didn't have to do calculations from lighthouses all around him or observers around him. He just had to use his eye. So he kept getting stronger and better, and made a full recovery until he kept climbing and climbing and climbing the tower, and finally became a ranker. Around, I want to say that this time in his life was like very very experimental, from fixing his eye and becoming a ranker. This was very experimental, because at this, like I said, his body was also wrecked by this encounter, by this other great family member, not just his eye. So no matter what he tried to do with his spear, when he tried to throw a spear, it always hurt, and it always felt a massive pain. He couldn't throw the spear super far like he used to, or like super accurately anymore, because no matter what, his body was wrecked. So what he did, instead of relying on a spear, he decided to create his own, to invent his own type of weapon, a gun. He created many types of guns that he created, and modified guns that would link to his lighthouses, his eye lighthouse in his eye, and the lighthouses and observers around him, so they could do calculations even faster, and keep teleporting even faster and more accurately around his opponents. He later on, after all this happened, after he became a ranker, after he did all these modifications with his fighting style, with guns and his lighthouses and observers, he became a very respected high ranker. I would say his power would probably be around the strength of Dorian Frog and Han Sung Yu. And he was giving the Soberket. A Soberket in Tower of God is the nickname rankers have. So like Yama is the king of the Beast King, or Yurik Mizuno is Rei Barracuda, stuff like that. He was given the Soberket Shooting Star because of his reliance on guns and because of his teleporting. So he became known as the Shooting Star, and he became a famous weapon and item developer in the tower that sold his inventions to the Jihad army and did some freelance fighting work, like for some divisions of the Jihad army around there. But most of the time, he was inventing stuff. He was inventing, and basically, what I wanted to tell in this story, in this OC, is that he had many struggles and challenges because of his birth and what he thought he should be and what other people thought he should be, and ignoring those challenges and combining them into the best possible version of himself and be better than he was at the start of his climb. That's what I wanted to express with this character. And I'll be getting into his abilities and skills and all that stuff. He's an amazing light bearer, obviously from being from the Tupari family. He was going to be amazing at all things lighthouses. He can do shields, teleporting, flow control, weapons boost. When he became a high ranker, I would assume that he would have a lighthouse, not exactly like an Enacor, but like, you know, like one of those lighthouses that Richmond has, which I guess would be an Enacor. Like the ones that are like a bunch of cubes and they break off into tinier cubes. Like I would expect that he has something like that. He also creates his own lighthouses. He probably buys some materials, but he most of the time makes his own lighthouses and materials and stuff like that. So yeah, he's good at weapon boosting, which is great for his sniping, flow controls, reverse flow control, lighthouse flow control, all that stuff. His eye is a mini lighthouse that he can do calculations from to improve his sniping even better. Kind of think of a Lefab. I took a lot of inspiration from Lefab in like the little sniper eye observer that she also has connected to her observer to make her better at shooting long range. He is a great sniper. He created many different types of guns, not just like one singular sniper rifle or one singular pistol. He has created many different types of machinery that are all connected to his lighthouses, his eye lighthouse, and his observers that he's able to use to make the calculations and teleportation easier, like I said before. And also he made it so he doesn't actually have to pull a trigger for his weapons. He just has to flow his Shinsu into them. So like he can hold his weapon like this, not actually pull it, just flow his Shinsu through it, and then they start shooting. This also means that no other people other than him can use his own weapons against them, because his Shinsu is the requirement for shooting his guns. He's, like I said, an amazing inventor. He's created many lighthouses of servers. Actually, he has created a lot of armor inventories and many robots that are all fully sentient and all that stuff. He has created many machines. And actually, one last thing that I wanted to talk about in his abilities is actually his Shinsu control. Is actually his weakest trait. He can't control the Shinsu around him as well as other rankers can. Like, he can't. A basic thing that a lot of rankers can do, even like rankers, not high rankers, just rankers themselves, can manipulate Shinsus to the point that they can fly. He can't not do that. He's never been good at it, and he's never been showing the ability. The only way that he can do that is two ways: to control the flow around him with all the lighthouses and then levitate himself, or use of servers that he has created specifically for this purpose that can basically create like Shinsu wings or on his back that he can fly around on, kind of like bombs, like black wings that he sprouts, but like it's actually an observer that he attaches to his back and it flies around with him. He also knows Han Sung Yu and they have fought in the past. They have many interactions in the past. Because he's kind of not actually in Jihad's army. He's just kind of like a freelance weapon specialist. Han Sung-yu has actually come up to him to ask him to join FUG, but he has refused in many occasions, and they actually have gotten into fights in the past with no clear winner. Han Sung-yu has gotten the better of him. He has gotten the better of Han Sung-yu. They've both been pretty relative even, not really back and forth, not really like, oh, this guy's clearly my better, right? They're both respected and they respect each other very much. So overall, I would say this is my character. I like this character. I had a lot of fun making him. Hope you guys enjoy my character. And yeah, I mean, I would love to I would love to for this character to actually do some stuff, and I'm actually gonna think about some stuff that it would be fun in the future, maybe with this character. But yeah, I'm gonna shout out like Haku of the Tubes, Dr. Bonehead, Naya, like any other Tower of God YouTuber that you guys watch. Try to, if you guys see this video, try to see if you can get them to do this challenge, because I think it's pretty fun, and I would love to see their types of videos they would make on it, and what they would be able to create with like just a base template of a random family and like a random position. I think that'd be really, really cool. And they can take it out like not just like your natural positions, like you can do a guide, like flame users or stuff like that, even if you're not from the Yon family. Don Sosa, Juan Sosa, all that kind of stuff. You can do whatever positions they want. I just did the basic positions because it's more streamlined, right? But I had really a lot of fun with this, and I hope you guys like the character, and I hope you guys like the art that the AI did for it. I actually like them a lot, and I got attached to it really fast. So hope you guys like it. Have a wonderful day. And remember, I'm always going to be here to explain to you guys the truth, and when the truth is not clear, I will make sure to give you guys my opinion on the truth. Have a wonderful day. Peace.